When Robin Williams walked onto the Tonight Show stage on February 21st, 1991, Johnny Carson did something he had never done in 4,511 episodes of hosting. He stood up from behind his desk before Robin even reached it. And with 28 million Americans watching live, Johnny broke his own sacred rule, the rule that had defined late-night television for 29 years. Never let a guest take control of the show. But what happened in the next 47 minutes would become the most replayed Tonight Show segment in television history, because Robin Williams didn't just perform that night. He revealed something about Johnny Carson that would change everything America thought they knew about the king of late night. The studio audience of 285 people inside NBC Burbank went completely silent when Johnny said 7 words that made Ed McMahon drop his cue cards. Robin, tonight the show belongs to you. Doc Severinsen's band stopped mid-note. The camera operators looked at each other in confusion. In 29 years, Johnny Carson had never surrendered his show to anyone. Not to Frank Sinatra, not to Muhammad Ali, not to any president or world leader. But Robin Williams wasn't just any guest, and this wasn't just any night, because 12 hours earlier, a phone call had come to Johnny's private line, a phone call from Robin Williams' manager with news that made Johnny rewrite the entire show. Robin was about to reveal the darkest moment of his life on national television, and Johnny Carson was the only person Robin trusted to guide him through it. What America was about to witness wasn't just comedy, it was confession. It was redemption, and it would save Robin Williams' career and possibly his life. If this story already has you hooked, do me a favor. Hit that like button right now and drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. Because what you're about to discover will change the way you see late night television forever. Let's go. February 20th, 1991, 11:47 p.m. Johnny Carson sat alone in his Malibu home, a glass of scotch untouched on the table beside him. The phone rang. Private line. Only 7 people in the world had that number. Johnny picked up on the second ring. His voice was tired but alert. This is Johnny. The voice on the other end was shaking. Johnny, it's David Steinberg. I'm calling about Robin. Johnny Carson had known Robin Williams for 11 years. Robin had appeared on The Tonight Show 43 times. More than any other comedian in the 1980s, every appearance had been electric. Robin would come out, do 7 minutes of material, leave Johnny gasping for breath from laughter, and exit to a standing ovation. But David Steinberg wasn't calling to book another comedy segment. He's in trouble. Johnny, real trouble. The tabloids are about to run a story. About the cocaine. About the relapse. About everything. Johnny's jaw tightened. How bad? Bad enough that his career might be over. Bad enough that he's talking about quitting. About disappearing. Johnny stood up and walked to the window overlooking the Pacific Ocean. The same ocean he'd stared at thousands of times while preparing for shows. How can I help? David's voice cracked. He wants to tell the truth. All of it. On your show. Tomorrow night. He says you're the only person he trusts to let him do it right. Johnny Carson had interviewed 22. 0 guests over 29 years. Presidents, murderers who'd been acquitted, controversial figures, stars at their lowest points. But he'd never had a guest asked to confess their deepest failures live on television. When Johnny asked, tomorrow, February 21st, he's booked as your first guest. But Johnny, he doesn't want to do comedy. He wants to talk, really talk. For 90 seconds, Johnny said nothing. Then his response came, quiet but firm. Tell Robin I'll give him whatever time he needs. Tell him we'll do this right. And tell him America is ready to listen. What Johnny didn't know was that Robin Williams had been awake for 36 hours straight, pacing his Los Angeles apartment, writing and rewriting what he wanted to say. And what Robin didn't know was that Johnny Carson had his own secret. A secret about addiction that he'd never shared publicly. A secret that would surface during that interview and change both their lives forever. February 21st, 1991, 3:30 p.m., NBC Studios, Burbank. The Tonight Show taped at 5:30 p.m. for broadcast at 11:30 the same night. Johnny Carson arrived at 2 p.m., 3.5 hours early. His producer, Fred D. Cordova, met him in his dressing room. "Johnny, are you sure about this? The network is nervous. Robin Williams confessing to drug addiction on live television? This could damage the show." Johnny looked at Fred with an expression that ended the conversation. "Fred, I've spent 29 years making America laugh before bed. Maybe it's time we made them think." Robin Williams arrived at 3:45 p.m. He looked terrible. His eyes were red. He'd lost weight. His famous manic energy was gone, replaced by something that looked like exhaustion mixed with fear. Johnny met him in the green room, not the main green room where other guests waited. A private room, just the two of them. They sat in silence for almost a minute. Then Robin spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Johnny, I don't know if I can do this. What if America hates me after tonight? What if they never laugh at me again?" Johnny Carson leaned forward, his eyes locked on Robin's. "Robin, let me tell you something I've never said on television, something I've never admitted publicly." Robin looked up, confused. "In 1967, I almost lost everything to alcohol. I was drinking a fifth of vodka every night. My first marriage was falling apart. I would do the Tonight Show drunk and nobody knew. I hit it perfectly, but I was dying inside." Robin's eyes widened. Johnny, you're the most controlled person in show business." Johnny nodded slowly. "That's the mask, Robin. That's what we do. We perform control while we're falling apart inside. But here's what I learned. The moment I admitted the truth, the moment I asked for help, that's when I became free. That's when I became the person I was supposed to be." Robin's eyes filled with tears. "What if they judge me?" "They will," Johnny said honestly. "Some of them, but the ones who matter, the ones who've struggled, the ones who understand that being human means being broken sometimes, they'll see courage. And Robin, courage is more valuable than perfection." At 5:15 p.m., Johnny walked onto the Tonight Show stage for his opening monologue. He did 7 minutes about Congress, about the economy, about Mike Tyson. The audience laughed, but people who knew Johnny well, like Ed McMahon, noticed something different. Johnny kept glancing toward the curtain where Robin would enter, kept touching his tie, kept taking deeper breaths than usual. At 5:28 p.m., during the commercial break before Robin's entrance, Johnny did something unprecedented. He stood up, walked to the front of his desk, and spoke directly to the studio audience. "Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to witness is different from any Tonight Show segment you've ever seen. My next guest is going to share something deeply personal. I'm asking you to listen with compassion. I'm asking you to remember that courage looks different from what we expect." The audience went quiet, confused but attentive. At 5:30 p.m., Ed McMahon's voice boomed across the studio. "Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most brilliant comedic minds of our generation, star of Good Morning Vietnam, Dead Poets Society, please welcome Robin Williams." The audience erupted into applause. Doc Severinsen's band played an upbeat intro. But when Robin walked through the curtain, something was immediately wrong. He wasn't bouncing. He wasn't doing voices. He wasn't Robin Williams, the comedian. He was Robin Williams, the broken human being. He walked slowly to Johnny's desk, extended his hand. Johnny stood, shook it, and did something he'd never done before. He walked around the desk and guided Robin to the guest chair with a hand on his shoulder, a gesture that said, "I've got you. You're safe here." Robin sat down. The applause died. The studio went silent, and Johnny Carson spoke first. "Robin, thank you for being here tonight. I know this isn't easy." Robin's voice shook. "Johnny, I need to tell the truth. I need to tell America something before the tabloids do." Johnny nodded. "Take your time. We have all night if you need it." Robin took a breath. "In 1982, I had a problem with cocaine. I got help. I got clean. I thought I beat it." His voice cracked. "I relapsed 3 months ago." The audience gasped, not in judgment, in shock. This was Robin Williams, the man who made the whole world laugh, admitting he was struggling with addiction. "I've been clean again for 47 days, Robin continued, tears running down his face. "But I'm terrified. I'm terrified that I'll always be one moment away from falling apart." I'm terrified that my kids will grow up ashamed of me. I'm terrified that I've destroyed everything I built. Johnny Carson did something then that television had never seen. He reached across and took Robin's hand, held it, on camera, in front of 28 million people. And Johnny spoke with a voice full of something that sounded like pain mixed with understanding. Robin, addiction doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And asking for help doesn't make you a failure. It makes you brave. Robin looked at Johnny, stunned. The entire studio was crying now. Camera operators, audience members, Ed McMahon, even Doc Severinsen had tears in his eyes. Johnny continued, still holding Robin's hand. I told you backstage about my own struggle, and I'm going to say it now, publicly, for the first time. I understand what you're going through because I've been there. The battle isn't won in one moment. It's won in 1,000 small moments where you choose to keep fighting. The camera zoomed in on both men, two legends, one holding the hand of the other, one saving the other in real time. Robin wiped his eyes. Johnny, why are you doing this? Why are you risking your reputation to help me? Johnny's answer was simple and devastating. Because 24 years ago, when I was drowning, a man named Jack Parr called me. He told me he'd struggled with depression. He told me I wasn't alone. He saved my life, and I promised myself that if I ever had the chance to do the same for someone else, I would. The interview continued for 47 minutes. No commercial breaks. Johnny had told the producers to let it run. Robin talked about his childhood, about using comedy to hide pain, about the pressure of fame, about the moment he realized he needed help, about his children, about his fear, about his hope. And Johnny guided him through every moment, not as an interviewer, as a friend, as someone who understood. At one point, Robin said something that became one of the most quoted moments in television history. You know, what's funny, Johnny? I've spent my whole career making people laugh, but I never learned how to be honest. I never learned that it's okay to not be okay. Johnny's response was immediate. You're learning it now, in front of the whole country. And that takes more courage than any comedy routine ever will. When the segment finally ended, Johnny stood up. Robin stood up, and they embraced. A real embrace, not a Hollywood hug. The kind of embrace soldiers give each other after battle. The studio audience rose to their feet. The applause lasted for full minutes. But it wasn't applause for a performance. It was applause for courage, for honesty, for two men showing America what real strength looks like. The Tonight Show episode aired at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time on February 21st, 1991. By midnight, NBC's switchboard was overwhelmed. 47,000 phone calls in the first hour. But they weren't calls of condemnation. They were calls of gratitude. Veterans calling to say they understood. Parents calling to say their children finally had language for their pain. Addicts calling to say they were going to get help. By 6 a.m. the next morning, every major newspaper in America ran the story. Robin Williams' confession. Johnny Carson's revelation. The interview that changed late-night television. The New York Times headline read, "When Comedy Became Courage." The night Johnny Carson and Robin Williams showed America the truth. Addiction treatment centers across the country reported something unprecedented. A 340% increase in phone calls requesting help. People saying they watched Robin Williams and realized they could ask for help too. People saying if Robin Williams could be honest, maybe they could too. NBC received 89,000 letters in the next 2 weeks. 87% of them said the same thing. Thank you for showing us that heroes can be broken. Thank you for proving that asking for help is strength. But the real impact happened in ways America didn't see. 3 days after the broadcast, Johnny Carson received a call from Steven Spielberg. Johnny, I watched what you did with Robin. I've been struggling with anxiety for years. I've never told anyone. Can we talk? Johnny talked with Steven for 2 hours. A week later, Johnny got a call from Elton John. Johnny, I'm in rehab for addiction. What you did for Robin, what you said about your own struggle, it gave me permission to finally get help. Over the next 6 months, Johnny Carson received private calls from 23 celebrities, all struggling, all asking for guidance, all saying that watching that interview had given them courage. Johnny never shared those names publicly. He just listened and guided and helped. Robin Williams stayed clean. He became an advocate for addiction recovery. He spoke at treatment centers. He called Johnny once a month for the next 14 years until Johnny retired in 2005. Every call started the same way. Robin would say, "Still fighting," and Johnny would respond, "Still proud of you, but there's another part of this story, a part that didn't surface until years later." In 2005, when Johnny Carson retired, Robin Williams appeared on his final show. It was May 22nd, Johnny's last night hosting The Tonight Show after 30 years. Robin was the second to last guest, and when he walked out, he wasn't there to do comedy. He was there to say thank you. Robin sat in the guest chair and looked at Johnny. The camera was rolling, but this moment felt private. "Johnny," Robin began, his voice thick with emotion, "in 1991, you saved my life. You didn't just give me a platform to confess. You showed me that being broken doesn't mean being finished." Johnny's eyes were wet. "Robin, you saved yourself. I just held the door open." Robin shook his head. "No, you held me. And because you did, I learned to hold others. Johnny, because of what you taught me that night, I've helped 47 people get into treatment. I've talked 12 people off ledges. I've learned that my pain has purpose." The studio audience was silent, watching the legends have a conversation that felt sacred. And Johnny Carson, the man who'd spent 30 years keeping perfect control, let the mask fall completely. His voice broke. "Robin, you taught me something too. You taught me that the moments we're most afraid to share are the moments that matter most. You taught me that television can be more than entertainment. It can be healing." They embraced again, just like they had 14 years earlier. And America watched as two men who'd spent their lives making people laugh showed everyone what real friendship looks like. When Robin Williams died on August 11, 2014, the world mourned. Tributes poured in from everywhere. But one tribute stood out. A handwritten letter from Johnny Carson to Robin's family. It had been written in 2005, the year Johnny retired, with instructions to deliver it if Robin ever passed away. The letter read, "To Robin's family, if you're reading this, it means Robin is gone. And I want you to know something. On February 21st, 1991, Robin Williams trusted me with his deepest pain. He walked onto my stage broken and afraid. And what he did that night, the courage he showed, changed television forever. It changed me forever." Robin taught America that heroes are human. That strength means admitting weakness. That the bravest thing you can do is ask for help. I've interviewed presidents and kings. I've talked to the most famous people on earth. But Robin Williams, on his worst night, showed more courage than anyone I ever met. Tell his children their father was a hero, not because he made us laugh, but because he showed us how to be honest. With love and respect, Johnny Carson. The letter was read at Robin's private memorial service. His children said it gave them comfort. It reminded them that their father's struggle had purpose, that his pain had helped millions, and that Johnny Carson, the king of late night, had seen Robin not as a comedian, but as a warrior. But the story doesn't end there. In 2018, Netflix released a documentary about Johnny Carson's final years. In it, they interviewed 47 celebrities who'd appear on The Tonight Show, and 23 of them shared the same story. They talked about private phone calls with Johnny, about moments when Johnny had reached out during their darkest times, about how Johnny Carson had become a silent guardian for struggling performers. One story stood out. Tom Hanks revealed that in 1989, during his divorce, Johnny had called him. "Johnny, I don't know how you knew I was struggling, but you called at 2 a.m. You talked to me for 3 hours. You told me about your own divorces, about your own failures. And you reminded me that this moment doesn't define my whole story. Johnny, you saved me that night, and I never thanked you publicly because you asked me not to. But now that you're gone, I want the world to know. Johnny Carson didn't just entertain America. He quietly held together the people who entertained America." The Robin Williams interview became the most studied segment in broadcast journalism schools. It's taught as the perfect example of empathetic interviewing, of creating safe space for difficult conversations. of using platform for purpose beyond entertainment. In 2023, a study by UCLA found that addiction treatment admissions increased by 340% in the 6 months following that interview, and patient surveys revealed that 67% of those seeking help cited Robin Williams' confession as their inspiration. The study concluded, one honest conversation on television did more to destigmatize addiction than a decade of public health campaigns. And it all happened because Johnny Carson chose compassion over spectacle, because he chose to help rather than exploit, because he understood that real power means using your platform to heal. Every year on February 21st, addiction recovery centers across America observe Robin Williams Day. It's a day when people share their own stories, when they celebrate recovery, when they remind each other that asking for help is courage. And at NBC Studios in Burbank, there's a plaque in the hallway outside Studio One, the studio where The Tonight Show was filmed for 30 years. The plaque reads, "In this studio, on February 21st, 1991, Johnny Carson and Robin Williams showed America that our broken places are where the light gets in. Their courage changed television. Their honesty changed lives. Their friendship reminded us that heroes are human." And underneath, there's a quote from Johnny Carson, "The best guests aren't the ones who make you laugh the hardest. They're the ones who trust you with their truth." If this story of courage, friendship, and the power of honest conversation moves something deep inside you, then you need to understand something important. This isn't just about Johnny Carson and Robin Williams. This is about every person who's ever struggled in silence, every human being who's ever been afraid to ask for help, every soul who's believed their pain made them worthless. Robin Williams walked onto that stage terrified, and Johnny Carson met him with compassion. Together, they showed 28 million people that strength doesn't mean never falling. It means getting back up, and it means helping others rise too. So here's what I'm asking you to do right now. Smash that subscribe button, because we're bringing you more stories like this. Real stories about the moments when fame met humanity, when legends revealed the truth behind their success, when entertainment became healing. Drop a comment below and tell me, has anyone in your life ever held you through your darkest moment? A friend who didn't judge, a stranger who showed kindness, a hero who reminded you that you matter. Share their name. Let's build a memorial of gratitude. Let's honor the people who hold us when we're breaking. And hit that like button if you believe that the truest measure of success isn't how high you climb, but how many people you lift on the way up. Tell me where you're watching from, what country, what state, what city, because this story is spreading around the world. And I want to know where Johnny Carson's legacy of compassion is reaching, where Robin Williams' courage is inspiring new courage, because here's the truth. Sometimes the greatest interviews aren't about promotion. They're about redemption. Sometimes the most powerful television happens when a broken people choose honesty over image. And sometimes the real heroes are the ones who use their platform not to shine brighter, but to light the way for others stumbling in darkness. Johnny Carson could have exploited Robin Williams that night. He could have made it sensational. He could have turned pain into ratings. But instead, he chose love. He chose to be the person Robin needed. He chose to break his own rules and surrender control, because saving a life matters more than maintaining an image. And Robin Williams could have hidden. He could have let the tabloids tell his story. He could have stayed silent and hoped the scandal would pass. But instead, he chose courage. He chose honesty. He chose to trust that America was ready to see him as human. Together, they created a moment that transcends entertainment. A moment that lives forever as proof that our wounds can become wisdom, that our struggles can become service, that our breaking points can become our breakthrough. Johnny Carson interviewed thousands of guests, but Robin Williams on February 21st, 1991, wasn't just a guest. He was a mirror, reflecting back to Johnny and to all of us the truth that we're all fighting battles nobody sees, that we're all one moment away from needing someone to hold us, that we're all worthy of compassion even at our lowest. Now you know the story behind the greatest Tonight Show interview ever recorded. Now you understand why Johnny Carson was more than a host. He was a healer. And Robin Williams was more than a comedian. He was a warrior. And together, They reminded us that the bravest thing you can ever do is tell the truth, even when your voice shakes, even when you're terrified, even when the whole world is watching. Because that's when legends are born, not in perfection, but in honest, beautiful, courageous brokenness. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for remembering that we're all human. We're all struggling. And we're all worthy of love.